Adventure and Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures Pipeman W4CY Radio, and I'm here with our next guest who has some badass music, and they're from our neighbors to the north, who I love so much. They don't love us much anymore because we're a bunch of idiots that are the only one that argue with Canadians, who are the nicest people on the planet, and some of the best musicians too. So my question is the Divine Project one of those best Canadian musicians?
Oh, absolutely. I'd like to say that, you know, if you haven't heard of us, well, now you're about to.
I do. I am always amazed at Canadian bands, especially when they're three-piece bands, like how they just make so much. Like you take a band like Rush. They make so much more music than even a band like Slipknot that has 9 people in the band and with only 3. It's wild to me.
Well, I mean, I'll say it right here, and like right here, just 9 people. That's a lot of drama and a lot of conflict waiting to happen.
Right. I
think you're. That's all.
I think you're better off with 3 people in the band. You're more likely to last, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
So what is it about Canada that makes you guys like better musicians?
I'd like to chalk it up to the frigid temperatures and our constant fight to stay warm and fed. But obviously we know that's all a myth. But I don't know. I think it's just a lot of the fact that we're a much tighter community up here when it comes to the music scene.
Yeah,
I think a lot of local scenes are always tight, but here, you know, there's less opportunity in the grand scheme of things to, you know, there's not so many festivals, and venues in our city and in a lot of cities right now are kind of shutting down.
Yeah.
And they're not really, you know, putting on local showcases because it's all about DJs and booze sales now. And I think it's that cohesion between us fellow artists, the bands, the media, everything music related in the scene, whether it's metal, rock, hip hop, doesn't matter. If you're in that sort of art scene, it's about perseverance because it's such a difficult situation.
Yeah, 100%. And I still think, too, the first thing you said was correct, too, with the weather. Because, listen, nobody fucking wants to go out in that weather. So you got nothing else to do but to stay in and practice. Like, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it is true because you look at a lot of Canadian bands, you look at a lot of Scandinavian bands, and they're just great musicians because what else are you going to do?
I mean, some people like to ski, but hey. I mean, here it's just.
He got me. That was staying inside and practicing all day. That was literally me all of high school.
Right?
Yeah,
that's how you become good, though. Listen, I'm originally from Jersey where it was cold, but then my dad moved me in 1980 to LA where it wasn't. And I played drums for 9 years, sucked, played guitar, sucked, and sang thrash metal, sucked. What was the common denominator? It was too fucking nice out. I was going surfing and shit, you know? I'm like, I don't want to sit home and practice all day. I just want to play the song. You know, it was funny because I was interviewing, the first interview of the day was Vinny Appice. And I said to him, I was like, yeah, the first song I ever learned on guitar was Heaven and Hell. You know, most it's like Smoke on the Water. But then that's about as far as I went because there was always something else to do.
I mean, that's kind of a good thing as well. Like you keep on living, right?
Exactly.
You pick your path, and you know it's not just wasting away in your bedroom in the woodshed.
No.
Just like,
I wouldn't say you wasted away, Dave.
Yeah, I don't call it wasting away. Like You look at Randy Rhoads, man, he practiced 8 hours a day. And I remember that. And I was like, fuck, I'm not going to practice 8 hours a day, but he's awesome. And I think I remember thinking that's what it takes. You know, it's hard to be a musician. I was just talking about this in the last interview, but, you know, it's also hard because they don't realize what you have to do to actually learn your craft. That's huge.
Yeah.
You know, people think, oh, you just pick up a guitar and start playing, pick up a mic and start singing. Just like we were talking and I think it was the last interview, I was talking about, you know, singing. You know, if you're singing like death metal, thrash metal, or anything like that, if you don't know the technique, you're going to fry your voice real quick. And that's what happened to me. Like, I just like even now, sometimes I'll sing a song on my show, and if I can make it through one song, it's a lot. And I'm like, man, some of these dudes are doing it for 2 hours. Or like you take somebody like Courtney from Spirit Box, and I'm like, I look at her in like awe at her mouth and the movement. And I'm like, holy fuck, how does she do that? And then go so easily back and forth to melodic to that. Or Tatiana from Ginger, you know, it's like I'm just in such awe. Like, how do you do that for an hour, 2 hours, or anything like that? And it's practice and training.
Yeah, and also, you know, go back to it. It's perseverance, right? It's especially, you know, as the vocalist, it's something I can touch upon is just, you know, it's not even the conditioning to sing. You know, for a while there, I studied with actually Shania Twain's vocal coach, who he passed away last year, but he taught me so much. And it was one thing he always said is, you know, get on the ground and put your legs up and be like almost like a plank. You know, you're holding your legs up and you're engaging your core, and then do your scales. And there's so much physical conditioning to be able to perform these vocal acrobatics, right? You can get on stage and sing just fine, but when it comes to heavier music and utilizing all these different techniques, it's physical conditioning. It's also definitely, you know, physical health has a lot to do with it.
Totally.
If you have TMJ, and I have a lot of TMJ issues, I'm using all the alternate therapies I can to just make sure that this is constantly loose, because that's really what's going to, at the end of the day, help me create the different sounds, from, you know, low growls to high fries to even just, you know, distorting my voice properly and holding different notes while, you know, just holding different notes and keeping that kind of that, yeah, you know, kind of going on, that whole James Hetfield kind of situation, right? Yeah, right.
I'm not joining in that. I'm not a vocalist. I'm not a vocalist.
You know, and there's and to any aspiring vocalists, and I'm sure there's tens of thousands, you know, and people who are more and more interested in it, especially in, like, I'd call this renaissance of metal. There's so many online resources out there, but it's also about being careful, because it does come easier for some than others. And I think learning to properly condition yourself physically and your voice is going to be important. That's what makes, you know, Courtney or Tatiana or just a lot of these other vocalists be able to perform for that hour, for those 2 hours, right? And of course, giving yourself the time to rest as well.
Totally. And like I used as an example of the opposite end, one of my favorite vocalists, but definitely had to change, was Ollie from Bring Me the Horizon, because he was blowing out his voice, you know, and he was told, if you continue singing like this, you'll be done. And I think you have to know how to pivot, that's for sure. But that's also, I think, a product of maybe he didn't train properly from the very beginning, you know?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Definitely.
You see that a lot with, you know, a lot of, I'd say, more underground bands that are touring. And even you see it a lot with the major artists, right? Like Chad Kroeger had to cancel how many tours with how many shows with Nickelback because he had vocal, I think it was cysts, not even polyps or
Yeah.
nodules, right? And that's something we're always living in fear of, especially when we're blurting it out and just sending it to the crowd. It's not always something that we could just not think about, right? Because one wrong move and that's it for now, for a little bit into the future, and hopefully not forever. But also in the case of Ollie, I'd absolutely say that he's way better than he used to be. The
Yeah.
first Bring Me the Horizon album has a very special place in my heart. However, I think with his vocal transformation, he really managed to bring BMTH to a completely different level than they would have been otherwise.
You know what's funny about that is I agree with that, and I'm a little different than the average because they're like one of my favorite bands. Okay, but I didn't get into them till like around That's the Spirit, and then I went back. Whereas most metal bands, like I was there from the beginning. Like you mentioned Hetfield, I was at Metallica's first show ever. I was at Slayer's first show ever. So
That's awesome.
what I'm about to say doesn't hold true for them. Okay. I liked him better now. Like, Simple Eternal is one of my favorites. That's the Spirit is one of my favorites, but just his diversity and his melodic tone now. Whereas most that would have been me, the original Bring Me fans are like, sell out, poser, blah, blah, blah. I did that with Metallica. They came out with Black, and I'm like, fucking posers, sellouts. I'm not listening to your ass anymore. And And, it's funny. I was just saying this earlier, but now you take Hetfield, and he was interviewed recently. I've said this a few times because it so blows my mind. They play Seek and Destroy at the San Jose Shark games, but they play the original version. And he goes, I don't get why they play that version. I didn't know how to fucking sing, man. Now I know how to sing. Play the version now. I hate that version. And me, I love his voice in the beginning. Like that, to me, that's the better Hetfield voice. So I think it's when you come in with these bands, like when you're a teenager and these bands are like a garage band, you want them to stay a garage band. So if they start evolving and becoming better musicians or sellout posers, which is, as an adult, is stupid as shit. Like, why wouldn't you want to get better? Why wouldn't an artist want to improve their craft? Why would you want to stay a teenage garage quality, type of thing? So I think that's the interesting part right there, and that I think a lot of people that listen don't realize what you have to do as artists to pivot to stay relevant.
There's a lot of maneuvers that you gotta look out for when staying relevant, for sure. So I'd say, like, even with our material now, like we've kind of molded this identity where we don't have a set sonic signature. Like,
I love
it's
that.
TDP, but we always try our best to cover like a wide range. Like, we're trying to set a precedent of unprecedents with each track that we work on.
I love that. That's so old school, by the way, because I always talk about now, like metal bands, they follow this formula, like, and they
Exactly.
literally they all sound the same. And I remember being a teenager and like parents saying, "Oh, that metal shit, it all sounds the same." I'm like, no, it doesn't. And now it does sound the same. Like,
I think it's also, over time, these genres or subgenres of metal they kind of identify themselves. And, there's a lot of bands that I love and a lot of bands that have played an important role in my life. From Trivium to Children of Bodom, and even recently, I love Lorna Shore, right?
Oh my God, he's another one. How the hell does he not lose his voice?
Well, you can watch that video where they stick the camera down his throat. That's actually a great watch if you haven't seen that.
Oh,
And
I
they
have to see that.
actually, yeah, they actually kind of go into it, and you know, definitely he gave his tips out on how he does, you know, how he makes those sounds. Now everybody's body is different, so don't expect to sound like him. But you know, I've used a lot of those techniques that he put out there, and I've been able to myself create new sounds. Right? It's
Nice.
kind of, you're playing with sound, and then, you know, like David said, we're not setting any particular precedent in our sound. You can hear a song, you can hear another song, and you'll of ours, and you'll see, okay, well, this is one, this is two. Everything is different because there's different elements, but at the same time, you're like, okay, but it's still them. And even with what we're cooking up now, there is no defining, you know, subgenre to our
I love
music,
that.
to our sound.
Because I fucking hate genres. the micro genres and subgenres. Like when I go on tour, I do coverage at music festivals all over US, UK, and Europe. Like one of the things I do is sometimes I'll do as a question, if you were to pick your own genre that was only your band, what would it be? What would you name it? Because that's pretty much how ridiculous it has gotten. Like it's so finite. And to your point before, okay, so Metallica, before there was a thrash metal, they were considered power metal for a minute because there was no such thing as thrash metal. You know, well, it was like there was metal, basically, you know, and it didn't have to be separated like that. And then it did start separating. It just became more and more to now there's so many ridiculous genres, subgenres, microgenres. Like you can't even name them all. We wouldn't have enough time during this.
Lord,
interview.
no. Absolutely not. And, you know, it's also, I think, when going back to, you know, the whole Bring Me the Horizon conversation, right? Where they were almost this deathcore, heavy metalcore band at the start. And while they still retained, you know, that metalcore element, they went definitely more poppy, right? Or electronic or synthetic or whatever you want to say in their sound. They definitely strayed far from where they were in the beginning. And, you know, people are like posers, sellouts, whatever. And that's one thing we wanted to avoid, because at the end of the day, every band and all of us musicians, we're artists, right? We want to create. And I think, especially when you have members coming from a variety of different backgrounds musically, in terms of training, in terms of just the bands we like and our inspirations, and even then what we enjoy to listen to in our guilty pleasures, like I will put on the Backstreet Boys every day if I have the choice, just because I grew up with that, right? Or I'll put on, you know, Uriah Heep because it's one of my mom's favorite bands. And then you kind of go through this and you go, well, there's no reason to just define yourself. So let's, you know, subvert any expectations that anyone has of us. So they can't say we sold out. They can't say, you know, we changed, man. We're not the same Divine Project that we used to be. And we always want, and I think as artists, we should be allowed to, you know, freely express ourselves. And that's also,
no doubt,
you know, one of those with the whole micro genre, subgenre conversation. I think it's, you know, people are imposing limits upon themselves in an effort originally to be unique, right? Because you can categorize your music as X, Y, or Z. And yes, I said Z, so American listeners, please have a good laugh, okay? But, right, but it's one of those things where, you know, it's imposing those limitations, I think, becomes a bit of a problem. And then that's why you see bands dry up. That's why you see them kind of fade out, break apart, build new projects, because one wanted to go in one direction and other people wanted to go in another, right? And sometimes that band still stays the same. They sound different because the parts that made them special have disappeared. And then they either become bigger or, you know, they don't. But I think it's all about, you know, freedom of artistic expression and not allowing yourself to get categorized as any one particular thing. And so I'm 100% for the, you know, subgenre, nano genre argument. Like, fuck that.
We just have fun with it. That's
That's
all.
You just spoke my language completely because, back in the day, I remember when I was playing guitar, my dad would yell from the other room. He's like, "You sucks. You should give that up." And he was saying that because I was just experimenting with the sounds, and seeing what I could make as a sound. And I think that's what started metal really, was making experimental sounds. And like you mentioned, Uriah Heep, okay,
Yeah.
that's one of Metallica's influences, and that is a difference. Is my generation's influence? We didn't have this that we have now. The influences were at heaviest Priest and Maiden, but they were usually UFO, maybe Mountain, Zeppelin, and that was the evolution. Whereas now you're taking bands like Possessed and Venom being the influences. So I think that also creates that tighter, it has to be just like this, type of thing. But I think we all have different tastes in music. It's funny. If people ask me what type of music I like, I say I have a lot of, but my passion is for metal and punk. But I also like this, and it's just music. It's all music. It's a different vibe. I was somebody that as a teenager, I went to Slayer shows on a Friday night and Dead shows on a Saturday. And it's like, it's, I think that's what we're losing now is a lot of artists nowadays. They're not taking those multiple influences where I think bands like you, they're the bands that are going to stick around because that's how you create the unique sound is by blending all these multiple influences to create what you sound like. And then also to your point of what you're saying, going back to Ollie, when he was getting all the shit for the new music, Ollie said something that I thought was brilliant. He goes, "Why do I want to write the same song over and over again?" And I think about that. And like, if I was an artist and I had to do that, it'd be freaking boring.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I make it a point to like when we're writing songs, I make sure to like never write the same style twice. Or like if we pull like a specific musical trope out of a bag of tricks, I always make sure like, did we do this last song? Can we try something different? Can we stay fresh? Like
I love that.
that's just like the mindset when I go in.
So what I want to know is what started this all for both of you? Like, when did you know that music was your path in life? What happened?
Ooh. I know when I was starting to learn guitar in high school, at some point I stopped learning songs and started messing around on my own. And I remember one day I was just looking up for ways to record myself and I discovered Audacity, that free audio editor on the
Which is so robust now. And it's still free.
I haven't checked it out in a while, but apparently people can really cook with that thing. So kudos to them.
I use it here at the radio studio.
Oh, do you
it's
actually?
better
That's
than
awesome.
all of them. It's better than
That's awesome.
Pro Tools or any of
yeah.
that shit. And nowadays it's so upgraded that it can do pretty much anything you need to do.
That's awesome. I'll look into that. But yeah, I remember picking up Audacity like 2013 or something, and I just recorded a couple tracks for the first time, and I was like, whoa, this is different. Wait a minute. And from there, it just spiraled to just,
Nice.
yeah.
How about you?
Ooh. Well, I guess my story is a little bit longer because it goes back, I'd say, 27 years, 28 years. I was absolutely obsessed with Hanson when I was 3-4 years old. All right. I even had their like tour VHS.
Nice.
And Mbop Fever was everywhere in the late 90s. And I think the moment it happened was I was at an event with my parents and I just began dancing. The rest of the night beyond that is a blur, but everyone was clapping for me. And so that's when I found out I was the resident ham. But it sort of evolved from there because I really wanted to mimic that. And my father being a musician as well, you know, it kind of went, wow, like all these guitars and whatnot, I have an interest in this. And so they put me on piano. You know, typical Eastern European upbringing, you learn piano, you go. All right. And that was the start of it, and I really enjoyed just playing on piano. And you know, I kind of began experimenting with writing with my rudimentary ideas. And then when I was exposed over time to heavier music, and I really remember, you know, System of a Down, Korn being, and Linkin Park being my gateway into heavier music, it kind of became this, well, I started to experiment with writing lyrics, right? Just these kind of darker lyrics, these different themes, and even almost ended up getting expelled from my elementary school for them. So that's a thing that happened. They thought I was possessed by the devil, but then again, the Catholic school system
well, there you go.
at its finest. And then, yeah, I mean, I didn't think I could sing. People, you know, my parents would push me. It's like, you want this, like, then you have to show that you could do this. So I was forced to go on stage, sing, found out I had a voice. People were like, well, shit, this kid can actually hold a tune, so let's use him. And I ended up really liking it, and then putting everything together, and my discovery of just heavy metal, you know, Iron Maiden was a big one, Hammerfall, started getting into a lot of that power metal, Halloween, right? Trivium, I think, was the biggest game changer for me. Just something about, and this would have been about 2004, 2005, so right about the time Ascendancy was coming out. And I just really liked Matt's voice, and I was like, I'm going to forge my voice and my identity around this. And, you know, I'd bounced around for several years through different genres, just kind of experimenting and finding myself. And then I think that really, it went from just, you know, learning to play the piano and dancing and, you know, liking music and wanting to be like these people that I idolized, to eventually forging my own musical identity through a very non-linear path that, when you look at it, makes no sense, right? From folk music to opera, traditional, you know, performances, all the way to pop punk to metal to pop. I had a solo pop project I was just experimenting with, and, you know, I loved doing that. And I think that was kind of the key that turned everything where I went. I did everything on my own. I paid for a studio, I paid for musicians, I wrote the songs, they put everything together, we recorded these songs, we put them out, and they gained a little bit of traction. And, you know, ultimately, while COVID kind of stopped that dead in its tracks, because I had the bright idea of releasing these in September of 2019. Needless to say, I think, you know, it was definitely non-linear, but it's been, like, I couldn't be happier with everything that I've experienced and everything that I've seen. And I think, you know, as musicians, it's those experiences that mold us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's having a eureka moment and just realizing, like, you know, this really is what I want to do. Your day job aside, you got to pay the bills, but, you know, you'd rather pay the bills doing something you love. Or as that one interview goes, you know, don't love your job, job your love.
Yeah, there you go. There you
Words
go.
to live by.
Because listen, we spend most of our life working. If we're not having fun, it really sucks, to be blunt. You know, and if you're, especially in this business, if you're in the music business and you're not having fun, this is the wrong business. Because if you're not having fun playing music, the rest of this business really sucks. So, like, you better be having fun. And so, tell us about Rebirth.
Well,
4 tracks of
Yeah.
badassery from start
yeah.
to finish.
nice,
That's it.
nice and
That's
simple.
all you need to know. No.
But it was, I think, a defining moment for us all when we got into the room together. So the band kind of rebuilt from the ashes. Eric, who's not with us here today, he, he always had this project, the Divine Project, going on, and through several, I don't want to say failed, um, you know, versions of the band, he kind of came across us over time. And Rebirth, I think, is all of our musical rebirth. We got in that room and we finally wrote the things that we loved. We found a sound, and when we got to the studio and put everything together, finally it's 4 tracks of pure badass energy, right? And it showcases us, and I'd say it's more than the band's rebirth or this project's rebirth. It's our own rebirth as artists and really getting in touch with ourselves and what we can do and what we can create.
I think that's what it takes too. I think it's very rare that your junior high school or your high school friends that you put a band together, that you're going to be on the same page after you become like an adult or whatever, and you take any of the bands that really made it big, a lot of them, there was some transformation. You go back to the Beatles, there was transformation before they really made it. We're the Metallica, perfect example. Like, had Mustaine stayed in the band, would we know Metallica today? I don't think so. I think there was too much ego between Lars, James, and Dave to have that long-term chemistry that we have now. You have somebody like Kirk who doesn't mind not being the head honcho in charge, and I think that works for them, and there was mention earlier about, your own project needs. The reason Newstead left was because he wasn't allowed to do anything outside of Metallica, and then even that caused James and Lars to think about it and go, we were kind of dicks about that. That was stupid, and so I think as you get older, it's a normal thing to evolve. And then that's when you really find your people and your, as I would say, band soulmates, because rarely are you on the same page as your teenage friends after you're a teenager.
Yeah, no, that's a given. I can go back to my high school band and be like, oh, and like while our drummer from my high school band actually went and did great things. He's a jazz drummer now. Like,
nice.
Definitely not on the same page we were back then. But
right.
He, in our own rights, I think, yeah, it's definitely like that personal evolution. And so when you look at those, if you will, those, I don't want to say romantic, but romanticized stories that you read about, they were friends in high school and they formed a band and now they're famous. Like, I think Green Day, for example, right? Blink-182 to an extent. All right. So when you look at that, it's just like, well, they got lucky.
They also all have one common thing, the drama. Like, look at, again, Metallica, they had to go through therapy, like a band going through therapy to stay together. Like, there's a lot of drama that happens when you're not aligned anymore, and you either have to do something to get back aligned or things change. And sometimes that's when the best things happen, too.
It's a relationship, right, at the end of the day.
Hell yeah. I mean, listen, if you're in a band, you spend more time with your bandmates than you would to somebody you're married to. Like, you're on the road under the not best of conditions. It's everything. Like, you better really get along, because everything else is going to just make you want to fight.
Or abandon your fellow bandmates at a gas station.
That too. or like they did to Dave. So it's good that you have this rebirth. It sounds like you're on the path now that this is what the Divine Project is and will be.
Oh, amen to that.
Mm-hmm.
So tell everybody how they reach out to you guys on socials, on the web. Check out all your stuff. Buy your merch. They can't listen to my show unless they buy your merch, because they're fucking assholes if they don't.
Well,
okay, you got it. All right.
Me? Oh, I talk too much, David. It's all you.
All right. You can find us on our website, http whatever that thing is, www. There's like 7 W's in there probably. tdp-official.com. You can find all of our upcoming shows there. We will have a merch page up soon, but that's in the works. The only way to get merch is to show up to our shows right now.
Which they should do anyway.
Which they should do anyway. Please drop by. We'd love to have you. We love to have tons of fun during our shows. It's going to be a riot. Yeah, it's going to be... I don't know how much we can announce. We are we allowed to say like future shows here?
Well, we can mention North by Northeast.
Yes.
We're part of the North by Northeast showcase this year. So
That's cool.
That was a big announcement for us to be able to make. The other one we can't announce just yet because we haven't gotten the resources to do so.
We don't have the go ahead from like the
we
commission?
haven't gotten the go ahead yet. But if you follow us at The Divine Project on most social media, whether that's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, even on our website, if that's how you want to go about it, you'll be able to see our new, very exciting announcement. And while we may not be coming south of the border to you very soon, it's a very exciting opportunity, I think. And I think there'll be a crowd. It'll be an absolute riot. New place for us to tear up and kind of show who we are.
Nice. Well, we all need to escape the States to you guys anyway. So,
well, come on by, North by Northeast. We'll show you some good old Canadian hospitality, eh?
Nice. So, yeah, I love it. And I love that they have to follow your socials so that they can find out the new stuff for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And is there anything else you want the listeners to know that we haven't covered already?
Even though we don't know you, we love each and every one of you from the very bottom of our hearts. That's not sarcasm. Just because as a band, as an artistic entity, it's your support at the end of the day that gets us through it all and drives us to do what we do. So I think, give yourselves a big pat on the back for supporting even your very own local artists, because it means so much more than I think anyone listening could even realize sometimes, right? Just being part of that crowd and even participating. There's 5 of you in the crowd and I ask you to go, hey, and you do, that means so much more, than anyone could ever think, right? It is that driving force, whether you're playing for 2 people and that's your parents, or you're playing for, a sold out club, of 200 people, or even 10,000 people. It's exactly that, and that's why those moments matter so much. And I think it lends itself to the energy, because like you said, like, why do it if you're not having fun? And I think part of the fun is interacting with everybody that we get to meet, right? The stage shouldn't be some sort of pedestal, some sort of elevated position. Physically, not much we could do about that, but
it never was that way either. Back in the 80s, Sunset Strip, Troubadour, places like that, like you were right there and everybody got up on the stage, kind of like when Pennywise does a show and throw him, that was every show was like that. Now, and stage dive, okay? How do people even stage dive off of a stage now? First of all, they don't let you on it. Second of all, you have to dive 10 feet forward to get to the ground.
Yeah. No, I don't think I've actually really seen a stage dive in any shows I've been to as of late. I think the last one was 2022, Shadow of Intent. I think that's the last time I saw somebody stage dive. And even then security had to basically push them off the stage. So
yeah, that's what used to happen too. You would just get up on stage and run from security.
It's hard for the audience to reach the band that way, but we make it a point to jump into the crowd during every set. So
I love when bands do that, because That's how you get those loyal fans, because they realize you're just one of them. And that's the one thing about metal that's better than anything is metal musicians are metalheads, you know,
Oh, yeah.
and you know, there's plenty of musicians in other genres that aren't even into their music. Okay. But metalheads are normally true to the music and they're a fan first, musician second.
Yeah.
It's definitely, I've seen a lot of like pop or like just audiences that aren't really metal, and you see people just standing there watching, and if you do any kind of movement, you sometimes get dirty looks. But in metal shows, you can have as much fun as you want, which
Yeah.
is so nice to see.
I was at a show recently that wasn't metal, and I was trying to get to the front, and I wasn't even trying to do it for the normal reason I would do it. I was trying to do it so I could get to the photo pit as media, and these assholes would not let me through. And when I say these assholes, it wasn't a couple, it was like all these people. And like, I don't subscribe to the I've been standing here all day for my spot thing. Okay. Well, then you're a loser if you're missing all the other bands because you want to get your spot, especially at a metal show. And I see people that start getting mad because they're at a Slipknot show and they're at the very front and people are shoving them. Like, where do you think you are? This ain't fucking Peter Pan, man. It's Slipknot. If you don't want to get bashed, get out of the way.
Exactly.
Just my viewpoint, okay? But it's like it's but at metal, it's like people aren't uncool like that. Like it's metal gets a bad name. Metalheads are the nicest people, one big family. Nobody's out to maim each other. Nobody's out to hurt each other. You pick people up. And you know what? If somebody if I'm going through a crowd, all I have to do is say, I'm heading to a pit, and the people will move out of my way and like have at it. Respect. Go ahead. You say that at a country show, and some redneck drinking Jack Daniels going to want to punch you out. Okay.
That's if he can even afford Jack Daniels.
Well, here I'll give you my final story that you'll absolutely love. That's related to Bring Me the Horizon.
All right.
So one year, several years ago, I had to cover 2 festivals on the same weekend. Obviously, I couldn't do that. So one of my engineers here in the studio, I was having her go do and cover this one festival. She had never been to a rock show ever, much less a metal show. She was a country girl. And so I said to her, I'm like, listen, and she was really scared. And I'm like, listen, you're going to have the best time of your life. This isn't like going to one of your country shows where a bunch of redneck idiots are being macho and drinking Jack Daniels and kicking the shit out of each other. There actually isn't normally even a fight at metal shows. No, a mosh pit is not a fight. And I said, you're going to go to this show and you're probably going to make a bunch of new friends. You'll probably have a new boyfriend. And you'll see we're one big happy family and you'll have the best time of your life. So she comes back after the weekend and she goes, oh my God, you were so right. I teabagged some dude and he's my boyfriend now. And I have all these people I was hanging out with, I was friends with, and I have this new favorite band. I don't know if you know who they are. They're called Bring Me the Horizon.
Nice.
And I think that, you know, that is the point. I think if people experienced it, they would realize it's not as scary as they think. But then I interview a bunch of bands at festivals. I'm like, let's let them, the bands will be, let's let them keep thinking we're a bunch of scary people so we can keep the assholes out. Because it is true. That is what keeps the assholes out. But, you know, and I got another Bring Me quick one. I was doing Download and Bring Me was headlining. And there was this dude, he must have been like 6'7", 500-pound, big fucking dude. He came into the pit and he started doing what those people do, like showing how big and tough he was. Like those are the people. I'm a little dude. I'll come around the pit like, and then like Mike Tyson lunge up from underneath you and I'll be on the other side of the pit before you even saw who it was, type of thing, you know. But they always like want to show how tough they are. And man, everybody just teamed up and pushed this dude out of the pit. He was picking on the little dudes and trying to act all tough. And then one dude that was bigger than him walked up to him and he's like, yeah, why don't you push me around? And he took him out of the pit. And the dude was sitting outside the pit the rest of the time, just looking in because he was being watched and he wasn't allowed back in the pit again. So
Damn.
that's
So
our metal
security,
family.
nice.
That's our metal family. That's the way it
Yeah,
should be.
hell yeah.
Amen to that.
I have a solution to all the world's problems. We just need one big music festival. Everybody in the world's required to attend and throw everybody into a mosh pit. We'll all work it out and we'll all come out friends. And fuck all the war
Maybe that's
and all
what
that
Metallica
shit.
needed. They just needed to hop into a mosh pit too.
Exactly. That's all. That's what they should have done. They spent all that money on therapy. Just go to. They should have gone to like a Slayer show and jumped in the pit.
It's better than a warm hug, anyways.
Exactly. You could throw Dave in there too. You know, you guys mosh it out. Dave, you and Lars mosh it out, okay, and get it out of your system.
Yeah. I mean,
it.
absolutely. Why not, right? But that's definitely, I'd say, the magic of the metal community. I think there are other, when you look at similar communities or communities that are like in tandem, if you look at like the punk community, the emo community or whatnot, there's definitely less of that camaraderie, a lot more drama. Even attending No Effects shows, I was at the they graced our city with 25 years of Fat Wrecked, which absolutely fantastic, festival that it was, but the amount of drama I saw just around the pit, right? Just in the crowd. Because you did have, those guys show up that think they're bigger than everybody else and just start windmilling in the middle of the pit. And it's just like, no one's going near there. But then leave it to like the 5'0" like chick with blue hair to fucking just knock him out.
Oh yeah, I love that, man. Oh man, women are the biggest badasses in the pit. Like I love seeing that shit, man.
Oh
it's
yeah,
great.
Like I'm 6'4", so I'm, it's like seeing another tall dude in the pit. It's like whatever, like we're gonna bump, but like whatever. I'm scared of the 5'0", 4'11" girl with like 5 different colors in her hair and like 20 different piercings, like just sending it. Because she's launching like all 100 pounds of her body weight at like maximum velocity at you, and it's just like, oh, I'm gonna stay away from that.
No doubt, like that. Listen, I'm 5'7", and I don't weigh much of anything. Don't get near me in the pit and try to fuck with me.
There you
like,
go.
And it is like that. Like I even remember being younger, and it's like people would approach me, these big dudes and shit, and I would just look at them. I'm like, I'll kill you right where you stand. And they look down at me and they're like, I'm not fucking with him. He must be crazy.
There you go.
So, and that is why I think you find that most metalheads are similarly my size, because that is the place we can be to get away from the bullies. And those bullies that try to come in the pit, you're coming in our pit is kind of how it comes down to. And that's how you take care of them. There you go. So let's just solve all the world's problems. We should put like your prime minister and Trump into a mosh pit, like a wall of death.
Well.
Oh man. Do I want to be playing that show, or do I want to be in the crowd for that? I don't know.
Oh, I want to be playing that show. Are you kidding me?
That would be insane.
That would be we'll take Carney, we'll take Trump, we'll take Putin, we'll take what's that asshole name?
The guy from North Korea.
Kim Jong-un.
Yeah.
We'll take what's the leader from Belarus? What's his name?
Open call. Any political leaders watching right now, we invite you. Come to a TDP show. We'll get you set up.
Yeah.
Easy.
And
easy.
the first one to secure world peace gets a free hoodie.
There you go. And
That's true.
they can only get on the guest list if they're willing to go into the mosh pit.
Amen to that.
Well, you guys fucking rock, and everybody should check you out. And I hope to see a lot more of you, and I hope to see you at the States. That is, if we have a States before long.
We hope to see you at a show, Pipeman. Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. You guys got to hit up some of the Danny Wimmer festivals here, or just meet me over and like download Bloodstock. Actually, you guys would probably be good at Bloodstock. That's a great festival. You know that festival? Check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I know Bloodstock.
It's
Okay.
a killer. It's a killer festival. Small community. Really dedicated metal people. The people that run it are real dedicated to the music. It's not like corporate America where it's all about the money and transactional. It's a real metal festival, and they do cool shit. Like a couple of years ago, they have a surprise band every year that'll play in like the small tent. A couple of years ago, it was Machine Head.
Oh, what?
Whoa.
Last year, that was it there? I think it was there. I can't remember if it was there or Hellfest. I saw Nail Bomb, like their first performance and since the beginning, and was supposed to be the last one, but then they did more after that because it's like, hey, everybody came out for this,
Yeah.
So next, we'll see the Divine Project. You'll be the special surprise band.
We're not a band to turn away from opportunities. So, yeah, whatever you put in front of us, whatever obstacles, whatever's in our way, we'll,
Yeah. And if you guys watching and listening, if you want us to come down to where you are, follow us on socials. Let us know you want to see us. We are down to tear up your town. Just give us a ring.
And they won't be sorry about it either.
Oh, absolutely not. Plus,
Definitely
we'll
not.
always make sure to have a special line of merch to commemorate the moment.
I mean, I had to throw that in because you're Canadian and you guys always say sorry.
Oh, sorry.
You're good.
This girl I'm friends with. Yeah, this girl I'm friends with. I was walking down the road in Costa Rica and she's on the phone with me and she heard somebody say sorry to me and she goes, "Were they Canadian?" They were.
There was a good chance they were, yeah.
So, all right. Well, you guys rock, and thanks for being on the Adventures of Pipeman.
Thanks for having us
on this one, man.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.